Yes. Hello, friends. I think we might be back. We're trying this again.
It quit out on us, and we don't know why.
Yes.
So we apologize, but we also lost your questions.
Yes.
So if you want to resend them, that would be great. But I do remember one of them, so I'm going to ask you what it was.
Okay, ask me the question.
What do you think people have to consider when creating young adults, MG, and children?
What does MG stand for?
I guess middle grade. Middle grade.
Middle grade. Okay.
Oh,
Middle
yeah,
grade.
okay. All of them are grade.
All right. So when you're creating those, you're going to want to make sure that you have. When you're creating those, you're going to want to make sure that you have a clean rating, which means, keep the swearing to a minimum. It'll be either G-rated or PG-rated, and that just makes sure that parents who might be monitoring what their children are listening to understand that your show is at least trying to be family-friendly. YA, a lot of it comes down to your design, like what's eye-catching, I think, for your fans. So having a design that speaks to them, and just having a really, really good story. I'm not really sure. Okay, there's some comments coming in, and we love you guys. I don't know if there's any necessarily special considerations. I know if you're writing a book, like a middle grade or YA novel would be a little shorter.
Can I tell you what my answer was?
Oh, yes.
If you have an idea.
Yes.
So we've had people come up to us saying, is this appropriate for my child? Is this appropriate for someone who's like 7 to 12?
Yes.
And I think it's very interesting because people are saying that they are in the car with their children writing home school. So my response was, you might want to consider the fact that a parent has to enjoy it as well, because they are part of the audience. They're the ones that are hitting play in the car to listen to that show. It's like the way that old Disney movies and television shows used to cater to the older audience, was giving some hints to things, but the younger audience will understand. So that's a good way of doing it too. It's really good production value at that point because you have a much larger audience. Maybe even adults who are like, I want something fun. I think it's a good thing to say.
I think
that's what I wanted to say to you, to see if your opinion was.
I absolutely agree. And I was thinking about like the modern Pixar movies, where they include stuff that's fun for adults. Like I go see children's movies because I know that it's going to be fun for me no matter what. So that's really, really important.
So I answered a question by James. Earlier,
okay.
And now he has a follow-up question.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. I love these follow-up questions. I'm way disappointed that I cannot buy my way onto the White Vault. That's fair. Yeah. I guess my follow-up question would be for Sarah Ray Werner is how much money would it take to buy my way into right now? Zero money. I would love to host you as a guest. If you're interested in talking about the creative process, if you're talking about writing, all of that good stuff. So, James, shoot me an email.
Oh, I have to say something that's a bit shameless. What? I'm going to be
yes.
Yeah.
Caitlin's going to be on my show in March, I believe.
May.
Yeah. Okay, so
which is great. My March is packed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, he's getting another phone call.
Yay, thank you, James.
But yes, so send in more questions. We are always happy to answer. It's been a really great weekend so far, even though it's Friday here at Podfest.
Yes.
And we saw a few speeches earlier, and Rob's elbows. And we got to see, do you need me to sign your paper? Absolutely.
We got to see all sorts of fun things. The podcasts are just exploding, and it's really, really, really excited to see.
There you go. If you have any questions about audio dramas, feel free to ask them.
Thank you. So yeah, this is a bustling conference, and people here are really excited about podcasts. We're here trying to spread the word about audio dramas, which are fictional podcasts, if you're just joining us.
Yes.
So
we
yeah.
create fictional podcasts.
We do.
So
that is what we
horror
do.
stories, sci-fi stories, funny stories, everything that is an audio drama can be created by you as well. So if you have questions about how to make your own, please ask. Add it to the chat. We will try to answer to the best of our ability. And Travis is here as well.
Ew.
Travis Vendroff, who is the creator, producer for White Vault with me and Liberty as well. And he's also worked on a few other things. And we've seen very little audio drama stuff here this weekend, but I do want to point out that we saw somebody walk by with a sweatshirt that had Creepy on it.
Yes.
So that was amazing.
Yes. Are any of you fans of John Grill's Creepy podcast? Because I am.
Me too.
They
featured one of my stories.
Yeah,
it was in the 31 Days of Horror, and I was so excited to be part of that.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to have to go back and listen to you.
Yeah,
like,
it was
knowing that you wrote it.
The really creepy one, or at least I think it is because I wrote it. It's all creepy.
The creepy one on the Creepy Show. Oh, any new projects that you're working on? James asks. Yes. I think we're the type of people who are always working on new projects.
We never stop.
No. What? Rest? What?
Although if I can tell you about them, that is another matter.
I'm looking at you expectantly.
Well, we are working on the White Vault live show, so we're still producing that. So we produce it beforehand so that our actors have something to work off of so when they're doing their rehearsals. And we're also working on Artifact. Can I move the thing?
Yeah.
This? No, I meant the little thing because I couldn't see what people were posting.
Oh, gotcha.
Sorry. And then we're also working on the White Vault Artifact, which is a mini-series spin-off for the White Vault that is specifically for supporters and patrons. So you can get the full story of the White Vault just by listening to main feed, but for those who do support us, they do get an extra story. And it's going to be 10 episodes long, and we're working on that currently as well.
When you put your head there, it's just the White Alt. And you're like,
White
oh,
Alt.
David Alt. I love David Alt.
Oh. And are you working on anything that you can talk about?
Well, I am working on finishing the second half of season 1 of Girl in Space. I have season 2 in my brain, so look for that. And then,
If you're not here, then you don't get to know this, but there's like some really sweet like Girl in Space.
We got swag.
And we have like White Vault patches and a whole bunch of different stuff. So yeah, it's kind of awesome being here and everything. Yeah, I did not mean to interrupt you, but I felt like I needed to show your button.
Thank you. She's very excited, and I love Kaitlin. She's just so enthusiastic and wonderful to work with.
I try.
So otherwise,
I mean, I'm definitely working on more projects, but they are under wraps for now because I don't like to feel like a failure. So if I don't tell anybody that I'm creating something and then it never comes out, nobody ever knows that it didn't come out, right?
You should be free to fail.
I do feel free to fail, but at the same time, I'd like it to be more of a solidly formed thing before I present it to the world.
Oh, that's fair.
I don't want to say, hey guys, I made a cake, and then present you with like flour and soy milk, normal milk, and
whatever else, eggs, sugar.
Eggs don't go in mine either. So I was like, sugar goes in cake.
Yes.
Fictional podcast.
Okay, we have a question. What's been the most challenging and rewarding parts of transitioning to audio drama for each of you? So you can go first because you had that transition from
oh my gosh.
to,
What a great question. The most challenging has been staying on top of it. I'm not a planner.
You plan very well.
Well,
I've seen your beautiful planners. Oh, thank you. Like decorated.
Well, I try. I'm not by nature a planner, so I have to try very hard. And so coming out with an audio drama that's cohesive across an entire season has been a challenge for me. It's also been a good challenge. It's been a good learning experience. Kaitlin was talking earlier about failing, and I actually started Girl in Space with the expectation that it was going to fail.
Oh no!
What is an
I
audio
heard you
drama?
announcing it on Right Now podcast, and I was like, "That's
Tell
gonna
me what you
go.
do.
That is gonna be good."
Well, thank you.
I met her yesterday.
And then, so that's also one of the most rewarding parts.
I think he's met.
Yes,
I think I saw him at the bar last night. And he's interested in doing a little
Absolutely,
sci-fi
he was
podcast.
already
I said, "You can talk to her."
And
Yeah?
that's yours.
So one of the most rewarding parts has been interacting with people like you. I have met the coolest people in not only the audio drama community, but in the podcasting
I think
community.
it's awesome.
And they are here at this conference, and they are here online in this group, and they're just the most amazing people. So I think that's the most rewarding thing for me has just been the community and the people I've met. It's a good community.
And I'm not being rude when I say I guess I am being rude when I say this, but before I was in audio drama, I was in university. And everybody was like very academic. It was always academic because I went to a very good university, and it was not like
It's competitive.
yeah, it was very competitive. Everyone's like, oh, I'm going to publish in a journal, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to run my stuff. I had some great people in my class. I actually based some of my characters off the people that I met back when I was doing it.
you really?
Absolutely. Because they were wonderful people, and especially for the White Vault, I was thinking about my old classes at Oxford, and I was thinking, oh, this is an international school. There's people from all over the world who come here for this quality education.
Yeah.
it's the kind of voices I want to present, and the White Vault is an an entire world of people. So yeah, I did face a bunch of people.
I love that. I love that.
So for my uni days. But most challenging and rewarding parts of transitioning. Challenging being, for me, I had not written anything and published anything.
Right, because you started off as a...
I got my degree in archaeological sciences, and at that point, I was already writing Liberty, and I was like, "Oh, that's my side thing. I'm not going to be doing that too often. It's fun, but And then I got back to the U.S. and I was actually making maps. I was a fantasy cartographer.
I love it.
She's awesome, by the way.
I make maps.
She makes beautiful maps.
And then being an artist, as some of you might know, is not very lucrative. And I found out that podcasting felt more like what I was supposed to be doing. And I really went from I'm in university to I am podcasting pretty instantaneously. And that was a challenge because I had grown up thinking nobody wants to hear what I'm writing. Nobody values what I write. And now I have possibilities. But at the same time, like, I am really glad that I have the education that I have because I put a lot of my scientific understanding into what I write. Yes. So I don't regret it. That's good to hear. I don't regret it. There we go.
I don't regret it. Like the tagline.
Good job going after
your
passion.
I don't regret it.
I don't regret
The me eating a jar of cheesecake story.
Yeah, I'm going to check it out.
And then rewarding, knowing that I can create something that people actually want to hear is amazing. Isn't that right, Travis?
That's right. Whatever she said, it's always right.
He's a good husband.
He's very good.
But just, I don't know, it's kind of validating. I don't feel like I'm screaming into the void anymore. And having fans reach out to me on Twitter and say, man, that really spooked me. I'm like, awesome, it spooked you. I did my job.
Winning.
Yeah,
yes.
winning.
Scare all the people. That's her mission in life.
Guys, I really hope I frightened you.
That can also be a good tagline for your eventual autobiography.
So what is it like at this convention for people who've never been to a podcast convention, who might be introverted?
Oh.
People are not here to attack you.
Right.
People are here to help you and to receive help from you.
Yes.
In a very professional way. But also very friendly. So, yeah, you're going to see some people who are walking around t-shirts. I'm only wearing a t-shirt. I don't usually wear t-shirts, but I'm wearing white. You can't see it.
The White
Vault t-shirt. Woo! And you have your own space one behind you.
I do. Designed by the beautiful folks at T Public.
Shout out to T Public. They're amazing.
They're wonderful.
And so it's like a lot of people will be wearing blazers and suits, and this is what they do professionally because they have a podcast about like finance, medical things and things like that. But
which is awesome.
It is. It is wonderful for people to be able to do that. But at the same time, so I was thinking, if this gets pretty low and we're still doing this, do you want to take this into the other room? Sure. And plug it in? Sure.
You might need to run into that now. If you hit 5%, I think it turns off, right?
No.
Oh, because my computer does that.
Well,
mine goes to one.
This is a MacBook. We're good. MacBooks are normal.
We're good. So we have like 8% left on my computer and about 20 minutes-ish that we were planning on being here. So
yeah,
we're going to play it by ear.
We might move to a different room, in which case you won't see these amazing banners. I'm so happy with the way the banners turned out because we opened them up when we got here. And
They're a
like,
surprise.
They're fantastic. That's great. That's
You are no longer in your car.
And I like the color difference.
It works very nice.
It's pretty good. It's like you planned it. But
We didn't.
we didn't. It's just the art we have. But yes, more questions.
Let's see.
Okay, so how about the questions we did yesterday at the conference?
Oh, what a wonderful question.
So the first two are, what are your two favorite podcasts that are not your own?
My two favorite podcasts that are not my own. Let's see. This is going to sound like really cheesy. I've really been enjoying the White Vault, to be honest. Because I like horror. Let's see. I'm in love with Tanis, and I get a little bit of flack for that, but maybe if you're watching this, you also appreciate Tanis. I just like the atmosphere it creates, and also it helps me sleep.
Any non-audio?
Any non-audio dramas? Yes, I listen to a lot of non-audio dramas as well. I'm trying to remember what I said yesterday. I love Lipson is a podcast called The Feed, which if you are interested in getting into podcasts has a lot of really great information. And yeah, so I would say the feed and the white vault right now.
I feel honored.
Yes.
I'm humbled at the same time.
That's wonderful.
But okay, and I am not lying. I wrote this on my paper yesterday. Two of my favorites are the Right Now podcast with Sarah Werner, which literally is how I got introduced to her.
That's how we met. Yeah.
Yeah. I was absolutely. Hello, do you need to sign
I
your
missed
paper?
it. I got the front of it. I missed the signature.
Hey.
There's the thing here.
We're part of the treasure maps thing, so we have to sign the papers.
Oh, you're on?
Yeah, we're live.
Woohoo! Oh, Tim says the Adventure Zone. I do love the Adventure Zone as well. And maybe you beautiful listeners out there enjoy this.
So, no, I love your show. The Right Now. So, again, I was not a writer, really, before I started doing this. And I had all these ideas, but I was in such a funk because I thought I was failing as an artist by deciding to write instead of make art.
Interesting.
And I was like, oh, Lord, now I feel really depressed and really bad about myself. And I was listening to your show, and you're like, you can totally write. You can do this. You can spend the small amount of time every day it takes to get used to writing and then do it more often. And I was like, you know what? I can totally do that. Thank you, Sarah.
Yes,
And
you're welcome.
I really enjoy her show. If you are an aspiring writer, I totally recommend checking out the Right Now podcast. We'll actually flash it right now. There you go, Right Now podcast. And Sarah talks you through how to get out of your slump and get pen to paper or put your fingers on your typewriter and get it written down. And that's for sure. I'm legitimately and then my other favorite is actually the No Sleep podcast.
Yes.
I've been listening to the No Sleep podcast for years now. It was the first podcast I introduced Travis to. And when we were listening to it, we were like, you know what? These guys are awesome. I think I can write some stories, and I wonder if we could do this. And not only could we actually do that, but now we work with some of the people from the No Sleep podcast, and we've talked with them, we've met them at their live shows, and the White Vault is opening for them in New York, because it is an amazing community, guys. Wonderful people. Congrats, absolutely, thank you. But it's so wonderful that they are just people who you can reach out to, and real human beings create these things. It's not like in television, because we go to a lot of conventions for TV and movies as well. It's not like television where the actors have handlers and you're not allowed to talk to the actor, you have to talk to the handler. No, this is like, oh, I write a podcast, I'd love to talk to you. Yeah, I would love to talk to you, the creator of your podcast. And that's amazing.
That's what makes this community great. We have some more questions.
We do.
I love this. I love this. So what are you all looking forward to at the con? What a great question.
I am looking forward to telling people that we exist.
Yes, telling people that audio drama is a thing and it exists.
So it's very strange that even though radio used to have all of these fantastic radio shows, nobody even remembers that fiction was once a part of radio. It's very strange because these are professional podcasters who've been in the industry for years.
Right, yes.
And they're saying, this is so new.
No, it's not. Orson Welles' War of the Worlds,
Exactly.
Zorro, right? Little Orphan Annie show. I don't know.
Well, so there was The Shadow.
Yes, The Shadow.
And all of the old noir mysteries.
Yep.
Which there are still, like,
There's a ton of,
versions those.
yes, there's a lot of great noirs like Jack Tracer, Rex Riveter. Good shows.
So I think that what we're looking forward to the con really is putting ourselves out there and being good emissaries of audio drama to the rest of the podcast and creation world. And next we have one from Fiona, who also runs the audio drama production podcast.
Who is amazing. Hello, Fiona.
Also, really appreciate all the work that you
We
do.
love you. It's a heart.
Yeah.
So she says, what advice would you give to young people wanting to do what you do?
I know people that live in space that are right
I have two types of advice.
Go on.
Because we were asked this question yesterday. What's the best piece of advice you've got? The best piece of advice I got was actually from Travis, and he said, you might as well try because you can't fail or succeed until you at least do something.
Yes.
And that's so true now. I mean, when I was applying to go to graduate school, there were some schools I thought were completely out of my reach. And Travis was like, go for it, do it. Why wouldn't you do it? Just apply. And I did, and I got into one of the best universities in the world. And I never would have thought that was possible. And I've taken that advice and I've moved that advice on to the rest of my life, and that has been fantastic. Yes. My other advice is actually on the tail end. After you start a podcast, and we always say that at the end of every panel we give, if you create a podcast and you decide down the line you don't enjoy it anymore, you don't have to continue. If you have a podcast and you're saying, I put out 5 episodes, I don't like making it anymore, it's too much work. If it really doesn't bring you an amount of joy, then you shouldn't be doing it. But that's not to say you shouldn't take on something else awesome. So you could be like, oh, I don't want to do the production part, but I want to write a novel. Yeah. So I'll go write a novel. Right. Or, you know what, I don't want to make this podcast anymore, but I'm going to go build a boat. Just find whatever makes you happy. Yeah, what makes you happy and do that. And this might be it. If it is, ask questions and we're happy to introduce you to the podcast. So, absolutely. And what is your advice?
My advice would be join a community. There's a lot of great, because podcasting can be a little overwhelming. You're like, oh, I have to have an RSS feed and a website and a media host, and it can be a little bit overwhelming if you're just looking to get into it. So join a podcasting community. Podcast we listen to is a wonderful community for listeners. Jared Easley has the podcast movement community. The Podfest community here is great. There's the audio drama production podcast has a great community that you can join. She Podcasts, if you're a woman looking to get into podcasting, She Podcasts is a great community. Most of these are on Facebook. Most of them are free to join. Find some other people who can mentor you through the process. Gosh, that's what saved my butt as I got into audio drama. I was like, I realize I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm halfway into doing it. And the community was so supportive. And they said, here, Sarah, we'll help you through this. So
I remember I reached out to you on Twitter, and I was like, hey, I just heard on your other podcast you're making an audio drama. If you have any questions,
yes. And the community is so open. Podcasts, we're here for each other. So absolutely. So make sure you start.
Don't be afraid to fail, I guess. But you know what? You can't fail or succeed unless you try. And then join that community.
Join a community. Absolutely.
And then if it's not fun in the end, you do something that is fun for you.
Yeah. Build a boat. All right. We have 3% left on my laptop.
We should run over.
Yeah. So we're gonna walk and talk.
We are gonna walk and talk.
All right. And then I want to.
This is the signal.
Oh, okay. Here, you want my phone?
No, my phone's the electric.
All right.
Let's
walk and talk.
I've got this beautiful thing which will give us power.
Okay, we have any resources that can help me narrow down the audio dramas I'd like.
Oh.
Okay, we can be a resource for you right now.
Yes. All right.
Tell us what kind of television or something that you enjoy reading, and we can probably give you a recommendation.
Also, you think there would be a website about this?
You think there would? Oh wait, I think it's called Podchaser. Like they're trying to do that?
Podchaser's trying to do that. Also, I'm just going to hammer home the importance of communities once again.
Yes, say it more.
So like this community that we're in right now, podcasts we listen to, there's so many wonderful people in this group that if you say, hey, I'm a fan of, Sherlock, the show on BBC, or I'm a fan of, I'm really tall, so we're just going to, so whatever you're a fan of, if you're a fan of Serial, there's so many Serial fans who can point you the right way.
Absolutely.
So yes, we're entering the VIP lounge.
If you enjoy television or you enjoy reading books, then there's probably going to be something that you can find that you would want to do.
Yes. All right. We are currently in the VIP lounge. So let's maybe go over to that table.
Or we need to go wherever there's a plug.
Is there a plug over here?
We gave you a shout out.
Yes. For T Public, who does our wonderful merch. Is there a plug? Yes, there's a plug over here.
Well, you guys are wonderful.
Well, you're wonderful. This is James, who does our merch.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
All right.
Are we going to sit in the corner?
Yeah, we're just going to sit in the corner
I'm
like
okay with
creeps.
that. I'm okay with that, and we also make less noise if we sit in the corner. Like creeps? Is that what you said?
Yeah, we're a little,
I'll move this forward.
little Jack Corner, sat in the corner eating his jar of cheesecake.
Oh, we are in the cheesecake jar.
We're in the cheesecake section here. We're just gonna hang on.
Switch sides. Now I'm on this side.
It's a little variety.
All right. What's the spread? I want to see the food. It's like pastries and
Oranges. There's oranges because we're in Florida.
We're in Florida. Yeah. So, Podfest 2018 is here in Orlando. We're at the Wyndham Resort and Hotel.
Yes, we are.
We have an exhibitor space. We just left because we didn't have any power.
There's a plug here.
Yeah. They know what a plug looks like, Sarah.
I'm all about taking people through an experience. So
That's a nice experience.
there's aromatherapy.
There's
going on
aromatherapy in this room as well.
Like people.
Okay, so what are we looking forward to? Any resources that you can help narrow down audio dramas you like?
So I was just talking about all the communities out there, but do you know of any other word of mouth? Honestly, if you have a friend who loves podcasts, ask them what they listen to. Usually, if you're a podcast fan, which I think many of you are, you love telling people about your favorite podcasts. So word of mouth is great.
Another thing might be, and I know this sounds really silly, and it's not really a resource, but I would say trust your instincts. So if you're looking for an audio drama and you're in the performing arts section on like iTunes or something, and you see something that's like, oh, that looks sci-fi and adventure-y, and like, oh, a girl in space. That sounds totally up my alley. I'm a girl. I like space. I'm going to go listen to Girl in Space. Or if you like spooky things, then you'll be like, oh, this literally says creepy on it. So it's probably creepy, and I'm probably going to like that.
Yes.
And I don't want to say judge a book by its cover, but usually you can tell from like artwork, because people who love their shows put a lot of work into the design.
In their art, yeah,
they invest in the design of their work. So you can usually be like, oh yeah, that was a good choice, and I can see that they've put work into that. So it means they create a good show sometimes.
Yes.
Again, judge with your ears as well when you start listening.
Yes. Yes. I feel like there was one other thing I wanted to say, and I'm forgetting what it was. Oh, so there's all sorts of like top 10 best podcasts of 2017 lists out there, top 10 podcasts of 2016, 2018, whatever year you're in.
2022.
the downside of those, and they often will recommend a lot, but they're in an echo chamber a lot of the time, and so they'll always recommend the same shows maybe that you've already heard. And it was very hard for me to get out of that echo chamber and discover like new indie shows. So you can search those kind of articles to an extent to find audio dramas or podcasts that you might enjoy, but most of them will continually say like, okay, Invisibilia, 99% Invisible, Two Dope Queens. They all say the same top 10 because it's a little bit of an echo chamber.
Because you have people who don't know about audio dramas reading about them just to write about them.
Yes.
So they'll find, I found these 5 articles, but those 5 articles have only been looking at the other 5 articles they looked at.
Yeah.
So it's just a constant feedback loop of
it is
non-expansion.
But they're good podcasts, but they won't give you new ones to listen to, which is why groups like this, podcasts we listen to, are so invaluable. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of great. I'm kind of more of a lurker here. I don't interact a lot in this community, but I lurk and I take your advice. So thank you for recommending so many wonderful podcasts to me.
Oh, and thank you, Jeremy, for letting us do this in the podcast we listen to group so that we could tell people about any type of podcast that they have a question about. Hi. Yes. I did not mean to move.
Oh, you're fine. No.
We're literally sitting in a corner. So,
all right.
What was I saying?
So not Cafe Press.
I don't know. It's been like a whirlwind.
This is
our third day, and it has just been insane here. So, we have a few more questions.
We do. Our podcast community is also the best judge of quality, as opposed to review sites.
Wow, what a good question.
So there is a darker side of larger podcasts, and that is that sometimes a podcast that's from a larger community. Or a larger network will be coming out, and before one episode is even released, they have like 500 reviews.
Yeah,
and
5-star reviews for a podcast that doesn't exist yet.
And that it is possible to buy reviews. We've seen it happen, and it's kind of heartbreaking for small shows like us to be like, oh, we've put so many hours of work into one episode, and we released it, and we're just like, yes, so happy it's finally out there. And then we get like a blip on the radar because these larger network shows will already have so many things. That's what people are going to gravitate towards. So I would say that sometimes that's true, but at the same time, the best judge of quality is always going to be your own ears.
Yes.
Even if you want to start a podcast, if you skip to like minute 15 and you're like, okay, so what does it sound like now in minute 15? Is it still kind of grainy, or does the story seem like it's going anywhere? And then you're like, okay, I don't want to listen to this anymore.
The
that's
community
okay.
can be good. If you find someone who you trust and you're like, oh, you really liked Girl in Space,
Maybe you'd like the white vault.
maybe. If you like scary things, again, I've had to tell so many people this weekend, only if you like scary things, because I like to scare people, but I don't want to be responsible for some child's nightmares.
The delightful thing about Kaitlin is she's like 5 feet tall and adorable and beautiful, but she also creates your nightmares. She's a horror writer, and I absolutely love that. So
Nobody expects it.
no, it's that, and that's what makes it even better. Is they're like, oh, you're a horror writer.
I am. And that's one of the things that, again, being in like a very professional setting, like people are very surprised about it. And podcasting is far less of like a sexist group of people than a lot of other mediums. So I can say, yeah, I create this thing, and they're like, okay, I'd love to talk to you about it.
Yeah.
But if I tell some other people, oh yeah, I write horror, they'll just dismiss me, even in like actual writing, like novels, short stories, that sort of stuff. It's like, oh, how can you be a horror writer if you don't have like, black hair and heavy eyeliner? I'm like, because I live in Florida? Yeah. I don't know.
There's things in the water that
see,
can kill you.
everything I say is just as invalid as what you just said. But, all right, so what podcasting communities? Okay, next one. To Fiona. Hi again, Fiona.
Hello. Thank you for your questions.
Both of you have really memorable logos. Who did your artwork, and what kind of work did you do with the artist? Did you manage to get the right image?
Oh, that's a great question, because artwork is so important. I hate tooting my own horn, and I'm also not a trained designer, but I do the artwork for all my shows myself. I did the logo for the Right Now podcast in PowerPoint, because I didn't have access to any design software. I made Girl in Space's logo in Canva, which is a free design program.
Canva. Like Canvas, okay.
Yes, and it's canva.com, and I use it for everything, and it's free, which
I wanted to sit up higher, because she really is a lot taller than me.
I'm a tall lady. So let's see. So I did my own artwork, and but getting the right image is, you want to make sure that your image is representative of your show. So I have stars in the background of my Girl in Space logo. I was very intentional about my color palette, which is blues, purples, and pinks, because it's a female audio diary in space, which it's not the militaristic side of sci-fi. It's a little bit softer.
Yeah, we
got
that
soft sci-fi. Oh yeah. She's got all the cool military stuff. So what about you? What about your beautiful artwork?
So the actual logo and our front piece that you'll see when you go and subscribe on the show was actually created by Kessie Relinicki, who is the voice actress of Karina Schumacher-Weiss on our show.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Oh. She is amazing, and she's awesome. So funny. And I played D&D with her recently, and I finally got to see her face, and I was like, I can finally put a face to the name and the voice, and she'll be flying out to Germany, and I get to, not to Germany, she's flying out to New York from Germany for the live show.
That's amazing.
And I actually get to meet her, but she designed the White Vault logo and the actual image behind it. But for all of like the Instagram posts that I do, those are all me putting together everything, and I designed. Can I show my shirt again?
Yeah.
So I designed.
Here, wait, and I'll like move the.
I designed the White Vault travel logos and the other White Vault merchandise. I just couldn't do the image that I had in my head. I couldn't make that, and I knew I couldn't make it. So I was like, let me go to somebody who's professional and get them to make something that I know is going to attract more people than what I could make.
Yes, and it is worth it. It is worth it. Artwork is. If you want to show up on iTunes, if you're making your own show, Apple is first and foremost an aesthetic company, and they do look at your artwork. And
100%.
Oh my gosh, yes. And so they'll look at that. They need to approve it first and foremost, but they also, if they're looking to feature someone, they'll look at your artwork. So it is a great investment to make if you just have a little bit of money, or if you have a friend you can do trade for. So if you're a writer and they're an artist, maybe you can write something for them. They'll do your artwork for you. But artwork is expensive.
Can I talk about Liberty too?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh gosh, yes.
So Liberty, which is our other show, which is a more like grungy sci-fi and a bit of a horror sci-fi as well. Our Liberty logo has gone through so many renditions because we have multiple shows on that feed, and those have been designed by multiple different artists that work with us in the Liberty genre, because we also create a comic book within the Liberty world. So we have access to some wonderful artists.
You should see this artwork.
I don't have it with me.
We don't have it with us, but trust me, it's good.
It's wonderful. So if you enjoy the Liberty podcast, then there's an entire comic book to get into as well. So that's kind of wonderful. But our designs have been done by professionals because we know what we're good at. And we don't want to put forth a bad front because we decided, oh no, I'm not going to hire somebody to do that. In addition to that, I mean, it's strange how much an image has to do with like an audio medium. Like,
it really is.
People
really
are
is.
going to judge you. They judge the book by
its cover. Right, exactly.
So,
they judge the contents by its cover.
Sometimes I say do judge it by its cover because there's so much out there. You have to be
able to narrow it down a little bit. Like Tim's question earlier, how do I narrow it down? And sometimes it's the visual element that narrows it down weirdly. So, oh man,
there's more. Okay, for a romance, for a romance genre, what would you expect to hear, and what would be too much?
Oh gosh. So there's some erotica podcasts.
There's the lesbian romantic as well, and even putting romance into non-romantic stories, like
like into an audio drama. Steal the Stars
did that. Yes, so they have like an entire plot is all about these two characters who want to be together, and okay, how do we make that happen?
Yes.
And I don't know. I do write a little bit of romance into mine, but I do it mostly as like character development behind the scenes. It's not showcased. What do you feel?
I have some thoughts on this, and I think number one, what I would foot stomp is your audience's expectations. So when you're creating a podcast and you're like writing the blurb for it, if you plan on having it be romance centric, just make sure you set that expectation. Say like, hey, this showcases the life and relationship of this person, because the last thing you want to do is give your listener an unpleasant surprise or something they're not expecting.
I did not go into Steal the Stars thinking it was going to be.
I also did not, and I heard that, and I was like, whoa,
sci-fi.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be sci-fi, and it ends up being romance.
Yeah,
and, it's just a good idea to let your listeners know what they're getting into, especially if they maybe have kids in the car. Which we've learned that a lot of our listeners have kids in the car.
Yeah, so they're looking for something that they can listen to with their kids.
Great. Make sure that you appropriately label it as clean or
Mine
explicit.
Is explicit. Everything I make is explicit.
Right, and everything I make is clean. And I think we both do that intentionally to let our audiences know that, like, hey, this might be, like, for me it's G and PG, and for you it's maybe PG-13 or... Yeah,
PG-13 and up.
Yes. And then, of course, if it has erotica in the title, then you know what you're getting into there.
Probably.
So, yes. And Tim is asking, how do you fade to black? I think it's similar to when you fade to black. Like, okay.
No, I'm thinking, so what I do in the White Vault, because two of the characters in the White Vault are in a relationship.
Yes.
I always have that be, like, it's in the background of the story. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you can't go in there. They're in there right now.
Yes.
And it's like, okay. But so you still get the kind of like romantic development, but while that's going on, you're having a conversation with another one of the characters, because you probably don't want to write something that's just the two people anyways, because more characters sometimes means you have a little bit more drama, especially in a romance, everything.
Oh yeah.
But you don't have to fade to black so much as you have to fade to new characters.
Yes. And I was going to say something very similar, and I would just treat it like you would in a novel, and that is like, just say like scene transition, and then like, hey, good morning, or whatever.
Good morning.
Good morning. Having some Cheerios.
Okay. Will keeping the language clean automatically increase your potential audience?
Yes.
No.
Okay. We've got some diverging. Okay, you go first.
The thing I'm thinking of is you can't assume that anything will automatically increase. I think if you're saying, it's clean, everybody should be listening to it. It doesn't matter if it's clean if the writing's not good. It doesn't matter if it's clean if the production value's not good. It doesn't matter if it's clean if anything else about it off-puts people. If your mixing is weird and some people are whispering and other people are yelling, it's a really big difference. But you do open up new audiences when it's clean.
Yes.
But I still think you have to focus on creating a good podcast regardless of content. Yeah.
All right.
So
I like and respect your answer.
Okay,
I think that's a very good answer, and I agree with it, but I also disagree with it.
Okay.
So if you're looking at tagging your show as clean or explicit, there are some countries that ban explicit content from iTunes. And so one of those countries is India. I believe another one is China. And if you look at and this is all up to you as a creator, and you can make the choice and say, like, I'm gonna be clean so that my show can display in India and China, and I think it's like 173 countries that ban explicit content on iTunes. And so if you want it to show in those countries, then make sure it has a clean rating. Tim asks a follow-up question. What are each of your favorite swears?
I actually do not curse. The worst I say is hell, which is very funny because when I write, my people can swear like sailors.
Yes.
As long as I don't have to say it. And the only time I've actually ever sworn is when I'm voice acting for other people and they write me in as someone who's saying curse words. And my husband looks at me and he's like, okay, you're going to say a curse word now. And I'm like, I know, I can do it. I just don't usually do it. So yeah, I wrote something for the White Vault season 2, and my editor was reading it, and she was like, oh man, I could never imagine these words coming out of your mouth. And I'm like, I know, thank you. She's like, this guy sounds like the Hound from Game of Thrones, because he's just like saying these horrible things. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. And she's like, no, I love it. I'm like, well, I wouldn't say it. But it's appropriate to my actors.
Yes, and it's good to know when it's appropriate for the show.
Yes.
Some styles of shows you expect language, and some shows you don't.
Yeah.
And again, it's all about what your listeners want
And I
what
try
they
not to be
expect.
gratuitous.
No,
Yeah, try not to be overly gratuitous. So
there's some shows that are gratuitous, but again, their audience probably likes that, and so that's awesome. It's
someone gave us a
them.
laughing face.
Good. So a little bit of a different answer there about keeping language clean from a technical, but then also from a quality standpoint. Yes and no. Just choose wisely. Be intentional. I think whatever you decide to do, I would always say be intentional.
Yeah. And my favorite swear, I guess, would be fudge muffins, because that's what I say. I say fudge muffins.
She said it the other day, and it was just like the cutest thing ever. So I really like that.
Yep.
Mine is situational.
Okay.
So
Ever have a situation where one of your voice actors is uncomfortable reading a line or expressing each other? Some of the White Vault bloopers.
oh boy. I'm gonna just like focus on you.
The White Vault bloopers.
Yes.
We work with the very talented and lovely David Alt.
Yes.
His character, his name is Walter. He's like running and he's exhausted and he's like heavily breathing. And so David sent us in the bloopers. He was like, so there's some things you do as an actor that you have to record and you just cannot make it sound not like sex. So here is just 50 seconds of me heavily breathing.
I've had the same.
Oh, he's such a lovely guy, though.
I know. Well, that's funny. And we ask these sweet people to do these like kind of uncomfortable things. For me, it's very similar. I had somebody like, oh my gosh, I had an actor like who had to like groan in pain, and so I just got like 8 takes of him going like, ugh. Like, it was like. And they're so wonderful, and it's just like listening to it over and over to pick the best one.
Which of these groans?
Yeah, I know, and I was like ugh, like just. We have more questions here from Jeremy Collins. How was it at a convention?
Jeremy, it is wonderful.
It is very fun.
And
I love it here.
I wish you could be here, and
Yes.
we cannot wait to see you at Modern Love.
Yeah, I hear there's a conference called Modern Love.
I know, me too, and
What?
I am very much looking forward to it. I think it's in August.
Is it?
Is it? I think so. But I do know that it is in Louisiana. And
What a
if you have
wonderful
never been
place.
to Louisiana, it is pretty much just as warm as here.
Oh, yeah. Well, that sounds.
So
that
some
sounds
more
right
palm
amazing.
trees for you.
Oh, so I'm from South Dakota, where there are no palm trees, and I got here, and I'm like, there's palm trees. So
Yeah, so actually being at a podcast convention is fantastic.
Yes, it
and
is.
I think one of the things that I'm looking forward to about Power and Love in comparison to Podfest is very much a professional podcasters convention. And
look
there
at
we
this.
go.
Modern
So-
Love, August 10th, 11th, and 12th.
There you go. And I'm really looking forward for Modern Love because it's specifically to be for those people who love to create and to consume podcasts.
Yes, which is
There's a lot more
exciting.
fan interaction,
Yes.
and I think I'm so excited to get to meet people who enjoy the show, and I get to tell them about everything we have planned in the future.
Yes.
So here we're more of the emissaries of audio drama. There we get to be the people who are like, I'm so excited to actually play my show for you. I'm so excited to hear that you enjoy the show.
Yes.
I'm so excited to talk with fans.
Yes.
So
Oh my gosh.
two different types of conventions. Here it's very, would you like to go to a conference and talk about the statistics? And that one is more like, hey guys, I would love to perform for you.
Yeah.
And I am so looking forward to that.
I love that. And I'm going to add on something too. One of my favorite things. Oh, you're in Wyoming. That's awesome.
Oh yeah. He was
You can
talking about
podcast from
mountains.
anywhere. You can, and I love it. It's very empowering. One of my favorite things about podcast conventions is being surrounded by your people. So I'm assuming if you're a member of this group, podcasters and other podcast fans are your people, and it's just glorious to be surrounded by people who love the things that you love for like 2 or 3 days straight. Like it's really, really cool and energizing and inspiring. So, yes.
Okay. Oh, I have a question for me. Okay, so will I be at TampaCons this summer or fall? So, actually, I've been, I was an artist, and I went to, like, Tampa Bay Comic-Con, I went to MetroCon, I did MegaCon, I've done everything, every convention here. And sadly, this March or April, my husband and I are going to be moving. So, we're moving out of Florida. So we will not be going to the ones in Tampa this time around, but we will be probably returning next year for the next Podfest as well, and doing a couple other conventions for our podcasts. Now that it sounds so sad because I love making art. I mean, I love drawing, I love creating.
She's very talented,
and it's just not very lucrative, and I couldn't support myself and feel like I was doing a good job. So now I do the podcasting instead, and it feels so much better to still create. I still create a ton of things, but I'm going to be doing it in a different way. But I will not be in Tampa for Tampa Bay Comic-Con this time. Actually, I went last time and I brought my dad, and it was fantastic.
That's awesome. I didn't know you did that.
He's a total nerd. I love my dad.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That's beautiful.
Yes, but Jeremy, live audio drama performances, we also can't wait. We're doing our live performance for the White Vault. Yes, we're doing our live performance for the White Vault in New York just next month. And then the script I wrote for the audio drama production podcast is going to be that competition I won, and it's going to be produced at the Vault Festival live in London, and that's also in March, so I don't get to go because it's like 3 days before my other live show.
Gosh, that's so cool.
And then we're hoping to do some live stuff at Modern Love and some live stuff at the future at some other conventions. So,
oh my gosh,
lots of things.
There's so many exciting things coming.
Isn't this a wonderful plate of all of the things we're doing?
Yes, it is. There's just so much. Ooh, a question from Tim. I don't know how long we have.
I don't know either. Hey, Jeremy, could you post about when you would like us to stop?
Because we'll stop whenever you tell us to stop.
And eventually we have to go relieve Travis.
Yes, and maybe eat lunch. Food is good.
Food is good.
Hydration is also good.
I didn't bring my water bottles.
I did not either.
The spread is before us.
Yes, there's oranges.
Okay. Do audio dramas ever become mainstream? That'd be a good thing. I would love to see people enjoying more audio dramas, especially because the way that we've been comparing ourselves out there in the hall when people are asking us about audio dramas is we say we're the Netflix of podcasts. So we're the entertainment of podcasts. You can, of course, go and listen to a history podcast or a business podcast or a spiritual podcast.
How to, right.
Yes. And those are sorts of things that people do for the workday sometimes, though. So maybe they want to do something fun at the end of the day. What I do when I get bored at the end of the day and I want some entertainment is I watch Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
And I choose a fun show to watch. So I would love for our shows, all of audio dramas. I don't mean our shows as in like Girl in Space and White Vault. I mean
just
our
shows.
The greater thing of our shows to be available to so many other people.
Yes, I would love that too.
Especially because everyone's becoming far more busy with the amount of jobs people have.
Yep.
It's the gig market now. You're constantly working.
Oh gosh, it is.
So
yeah, it is. It's a hustle economy, and everybody's hustling. Yeah. But hustling 24/7 is not necessarily healthy for you.
Yeah.
But you need to rest and enjoy audio.
When you're on that train or on that bus, I started listening to podcasts when I used to ride the bus a bunch. Or you're driving to work, or I listen now when I'm cooking dinner. I just want to consume entertainment and feel like I can be outside of my head. And I think that more and more people are going to see that.
I think so too.
I think that'll be great.
Oh my gosh. Well, should we go ahead and wrap up?
Maybe. I mean, we've answered a bunch of questions, and it's been an hour.
It has. So if you want to get in touch with us, I'm Sarah, and I have here. I'm just going to show you my badge. These are who we are. I have the Girl in Space and Right Now podcasts, and Kaitlin has
Fool and Scholar Productions,
which is White Vault and Liberty and all sorts of wonderful things. Thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely.
Thank you for your questions.
You've been wonderful.
Yes, you're wonderful, and boy, I can't wait to see you at some point again. So, Jeremy, thank you for this opportunity. And gosh, you guys go listen to some podcasts.
Go listen. Yeah. We hope that we could inform, and we hope that our shows can entertain.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye, guys.
Bye for now.